Hello, today is Friday. It is September 18th, 2020. It was a whirlwind of a week. A lot of back and forth. We would get a lot of head fakes up, test resistance, fail, test the bottom. Had some scary moments. Fortunately for us, we basically landed flat for the week. So this is the indexes. You're seeing that the Dow Jones and the Russell 2000 were the leaders this week, which this is just living proof that there was a rotation into value, not a bad week. To see NASDAQ not really getting a ton of bids yet is a little worrisome, but this was a very difficult week. So we had the Fed meeting, we had quadruple witching on Friday, which means essentially you have a huge rebalance in several of the indexes, which makes it very difficult to, we at one point the NASDAQ was down well over 2% today. And it's very difficult to buy that knowing the rebalances are occurring, basically saying, if Facebook is in there because it did so well, it's going to reduce the position. And that, because there's so much in those indexes, it really makes it difficult to make any decisions. So we decided not to make any decisions today. It was a debate whether to buy the close or not, but we opted not to. So we currently stand clients about, unless you're brand new client, most clients are about 70%, 70% invested. So we have 30% in cash. And if we do go lower, I'm going to continue to add. Right now, there are not a lot of great signals, but this could be establishing a base as well. So I do not want to sell here based on a rebalance that could kind of throw me off to say not enough reasoning to really sell more at this point, but not enough reason to buy either. So still 70%. We added a little bit throughout the week. About 5% we added, so not a lot. Those trades are a little bit negative, but to be even on a week like this, I will take that. There were points where we were up 2 to 3% this week. So if you're watching your account daily and you're used to that, that's perfectly fine. But you have to understand that this is the summary. The week we were flat, the S&P 500, which I am trying to beat, we beat by over 0.64%. So I'm never happy with losses, and we didn't have a loss this week, but it is frustrating when we were up, 2 to 3% midweek and we lost it throughout the last 2 days. That is frustrating, but this is normal. We haven't seen this type of grind in a while. We haven't seen it in 6 months. We had some of it in June, but not much recently. So I want to give you and reiterate that these are not fun times. They're not easy times. But again, the general move in the market, you have to understand, is up. So I have to be careful not to be, pressing the sell button when there's massive fear, because that's really when I should be adding. I know many of you don't like that, but that's how I make you money. That is how I long and short term make you money. So I'm not ever going to time it perfect, but that is how I create alpha. And let me put it in this way. Would you rather be 100% invested and be in the S&P 500 right now? Or would you rather be positive for the week with 30% ready to add? I think that kind of says, you put in that perspective, you can't be too upset. Yes, we are off the highs. I mean, I'm very frustrated with that. But the moves we made about 3 weeks ago when we were in the S&P 500, about 3 weeks ago, we sold about 20%. And right here, when we see an RSI over 80, that's like, you got to back off. In hindsight, wish I would have reduced more positions, but I went broad-based, which saved us a lot of money. You got to understand the NASDAQ throughout this week was down since the peak about 12%, when we're down about 6 or so percent. So never like losses, but if I can reduce some of that loss, that's really what I'm trying to do. Now the kicker is, I got to be adding on this way down when it's not fun to add. This cross in the 50-day moving average, this blue line, is not a good sign, but we did bounce off. It's called the bottom Bollinger Band, which is this like bluish gray cloud through here. And usually we do bounce off that, but not 100% sure this is quite over. I am hearing a lot of the street, a lot of analysts say, hey, we're probably going to be right around 3,200 and bounce. Now, I'm starting to hear that from a lot of people. So that makes me start to question, will we actually see that number? I understand there's an election. I would rather see this pre-election freak out occur, because right after the election, it'll probably be bought and will go much, much higher. I really do think that that will be the case. So you got to be patient. And truthfully, especially midterm and long term, if you're adding, these are great times to buy. So I'm slowly, diligently adding. So there's the main picture. This is, just to be candid with you, like, I'm not afraid to show this. This is the 21-day and 8-day moving average. Whenever you see the blue line cross the gold, that is a warning sign. We had a fake out here earlier in June. I'm kind of in the phase where I'm basically debating, is this a June head fake or is this a bigger issue? So I'm basically saying, is this one of these, or is it something bigger that could occur? Sure, we never crossed the 50-day moving average. I get that. But it really is about the same percentage move approximately. So I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not trying to hide that. But at this point, we're in kind of no man's land where it's like, I don't want to buy. I don't want to sell more. I want to show you this little gap long term. This gap right here. This was the gap we had down before the huge dip, and that's where I sold 50%. It worked out very well. Again, we don't time it perfectly, but if we can reduce risk, we will when we need to. Same gap is being tested, as you can see. So if we zoom in there, let me zoom in. Here's the short-term perspective of exactly what I just showed you. So here's the gap right here. We test that several times. We're so close to breaking out, even this week, and failed. That is not good. I'm being honest about that. And I basically said throughout the week, if 3370 does not hold right here, it's going to lead to 3330. What did it do? It went to 3330. The problem is this move basically happened overnight. So I'm like, oh crap. I would have naturally sold at 3370, couldn't do it. So we had to roll with the punches and immediately tested that. 3370, went back, went below that. I basically said throughout the week, if this breaks, this could get ugly. It did get ugly. Now we're kind of in no man's land, in my opinion, a little too close to 3330 to really say, do I sell more? So I want to make sure you understand, like, this is not easy. This was very difficult to stomach because it happened overnight. And my indicators were spot on, but I had to be patient. But again, we have 30% in cash. Sure, I wish it was more, but that's easy to say in hindsight. So just want to be real about that and where we stand. Growth versus value. The value play is continually, because it was so beaten down and tech names rallied so hard, this is a nice move. I'm not interested really in financials or the Russell 2000 for long periods, but we have to pay attention to that. And I think you have to be diversified in some of those areas a little bit. But I do believe a rotation will eventually go back into those growth names. It just is taking time. Again, when you have a huge rebalance like we did on Friday, I thought it was just best to avoid adding or subtracting or reducing positions that day. It was not a fun day, but we closed well off the lows, but it's still a red day, not fun. Okay. So national exposure for active managers. This is good to see. Again, we pointed this out last week where, hey, in 2018, we had active managers with 50% in cash. And right now we are currently at 59. We were a couple days ago right at like 55, or excuse me, really close to that 50 number. So you're kind of seeing here, like, could this be a base? There's a lot of technical indicators that are not good, but could it be a base that's establishing? I don't feel comfortable selling nor buying here, so I need to hold. Sometimes it's best to hold. In many cases, it's better to hold, collect some dividends, and you got to sometimes just have your head down, plow through, because the move is long term. And if I get out and miss it, you got to understand it could be a 3% 2-day move, and that's hard to recover from. So I need to have some invested. So I want to make sure that that is clear and why I feel the current mix is the right mix. The VIX, it's interesting hearing people talk about the VIX all the time. We talked about the hockey stick to say, hey, it was weird a couple weeks ago when the VIX, the fear index, was increasing, but the market was also going up. That's a red flag. Now we're having a scenario where the market was down significantly this today, and the VIX is down. So some people are like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Well, could it be the fact that it's the opposite of this? Could the market basically be saying there's, a rebalance occurring, and it's really not a fearful time? I mean, I'm actually having a hard time being too bearish here with the backdrop. Do I believe some stocks are overpriced? Absolutely. I'm a realist there. But I'm also being careful not to be overly bearish, because that never works out for anybody. So I'm very even keeled. I'm 70% invested, 30% in cash. We're beating the market. We had a positive week, even though it was an ugly week, and we were much higher earlier in the week. You have to view it in those perspective, or you're going to lose your mind. So it's been a frustrating week watching closely. Hang in there. I don't expect it to be any easier next week. It's going to come with some head fakes. I don't like the fact that I'm seeing any strength, no follow through. So we have days where we're up the whole day and the last 2 hours sells off. I want to see strength from beginning to end. We are not seeing that. We haven't seen that in a while. So that's why I'm very cautious to add that 30% yet, because everything has been a head fake. We were so close to getting out, but no cigar. So watching closely, very frustrating times. It's frustrating, the dip that we saw, but we're doing much better than the indexes, which is what I'm trying to do. So hang in there. We're still doing okay. Let us know if you have questions. I would not let the election scare you too much. People put way too much stock into their opinions during that time. Here's a little saying that is 100% accurate, that the more you take this in, the better you'll be as an investor. The market doesn't care about your opinion. The market does not care about your opinion. So it's best to take your opinion off the table and react to price action, which is what I try to do. Okay, so it will be volatile. This week was volatile. It was a 3% swing, but we ended the week just barely positive to flat. Okay, so hang in there. Appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of the weekend. Get some sun. See ya.